Hello there, and welcome to From a Riot's Perspective. We are your hosts Leonard and Khyrian Storms, and I've been a big fan of Star Wars ever since little me watched the original trilogy with my father almost 25 years ago. And then came the prequels. Now we both have fond memories of those prequels, so we were quite happy to hear that Kenobi was getting a series. But one of the fears that I think a lot of people had is the question to, is this from a storytelling perspective actually necessary? Did it actually add to the overall lore or was it just more content?
What are your findings?
Whether it adds to the overall lore, I think that it gives us a very fulfilling addition and semi-redemption for the things that maybe weren't great about the prequels. The story overall had great things adding to the overall lore, but it was a little clouded by other things that I didn't like as much. Now, as the story goes, Kenobi is lost throughout losing Anakin and thinking that he's dead, has lost its touch concerning the Force. He is not the powerful General Kenobi as we have known him. He's watching over Luke, slowly growing into his role as the hermit that doesn't remember his droid. Princess Leia, which I didn't expect to be in the story, but very welcoming because the actress that plays her was phenomenal. She gets kidnapped, and it feels very much like going to the Death Star to save Leia. I like this very simple story, even though I do think that it mimics A New Hope a little bit too much. What are your ideas?
To me, it was okay. I'm not the biggest Star Wars fan, but I don't hate it. I don't love it. It's just...
So what is the thing with you in Star Wars?
I don't have the nostalgia factor, so I think that's one.
Mm-hmm.
And I really like the Star Wars universe, but it's just... Some people are going want to murder me now, but I don't see the talent of George Lucas, at least in storytelling. But this wasn't written by George Lucas. It was just okay. Like I said, I don't hate it. I don't love it. It's okay for me. It's time consuming.
You feel more on the side of that it's a little bit more extra content than actually meaningful storytelling.
Exactly. But you said when we watched the first 3 or 4 episodes, you had this theory.
George Lucas mentioned that everything in Star Wars is poetry.
You see the echo of where it all is going to go, like poetry, so if they rhyme.
First of all, the episodes are actually called episode 1, 2, 3 with the Roman numerals, the same way that the movies were stylized. And the thing that I started to notice is that the first one plays on Tatooine, as does The Phantom Menace, and it has Obi-Wan watching over a young child while hunted down by Force-sensitive agents from the dark side. He mentions Qui-Gon Jinn. He definitely feels like he needs the help of his master, and that's something that Kenobi, as a person, that's the place that he's at in The Phantom Menace as well, which I thought was an interesting thing. Then episode 2 starts in a neon-lit city as someone tries to assassinate Padme. Episode 2 of Kenobi also has that neon-lit city, has an assassin trying to get Leia, and we see Tamura for the first time. And this episode 2 of Kenobi also has Tamura in there as one of the clones. That's the moment where I was like, hey, there's something happening here. And episode 3 has a fight between Kenobi and Vader. You have a scene on Mustafar with Vader suiting up for the first time in the series, which is also something that happened in the movies, although at the end. Episode 4 is the most poignant one. It really feels like breaking into the Death Star and Han being person like Tala that is ambiguous in her nature and his nature. Episode 5 with the Rebel base, and we have episode 6 that ends with the Force Ghost, and the Jedi kind of needs to find himself back again, and Vader losing the mask. Although I do have to say that what I did like about the Vader losing his mask is that both Ahsoka in the Clone Wars and Kenobi in this, they fought Anakin and thus cut off the right side and the left side of the mask. Ahsoka had the left side and Kenobi had the right side. It's only when Luke actually shows mercy to Vader or Anakin and says, I will not fight you. And it feels like this very Aikido thing of like, I'm not gonna fight you, I'm just... It's then when a moment actually happens where Vader says to his son, hey, take off my mask. And I think that is something that was quite nice. I think that there are certain moments in character development that Star Wars really, really does well. I think that an exercise in simplicity would have done this story well, perhaps even making this a movie instead of a series.
It's owned by Disney now, so they only see dollar signs. A 6-episode series is probably more profitable than one movie. What I don't like about Star Wars is its lack of consistency. There's this formula when you're writing something. I think it was also in one of Brandon Sanderson's classes that
number of characters plus the number of scenic locations times 750 words times the number of mice threads you have divided by 1.5. Each character or location you add has the potential to add 500 to 1,000 words to your scene or story. Every time you put a character in, they cost something from your word budget.
So there's probably a calculation you can make in how much screen time for a certain character. All characters, except for Leia, I think she was really cute and a really great actress, but like Tala or Reva or even Roken, I think if you ask me in 6 months, I will not know who they are.
Now, I have to say that I don't think that they were particularly bad characters in theory. I just think that if you have 6 episodes trying to tell the story of Kenobi and Vader,
you have to have the main character and then you have the antagonist. If the story is Leia's been kidnapped, Kenobi, you need to find her, and he's being hunted by this Inquisitor, then it's fine. But because it's a series, you get sidetracked unnecessary.
I also think that there's bad writing.
Yeah.
You could fix the second ship, and I think everyone knows what
Episode
problem
5.
it is. Yes, episode 5. They're escaping from the rebel base. Vader, a very star killer, basically stops the ship from taking off, throws it down, rips it apart, and a second ship goes. Then a little bit after that, Reva, the Inquisitor, then the Grand Inquisitor, attacks Vader to enact a revenge. What would have made sense is drop down the first ship, which was really, really cool, but then undermined by the second ship. Then while he wants to take the second ship, Reva attacks. Because he has to focus on someone attacking him with a lightsaber, has to let the ship go. And that would have made a lot of sense. And these are things that I could think of in 10 minutes, but there are, I believe, 5 to 6 writers.
Yeah. She gets into a fight with Darth Vader. He stabs her with his lightsaber.
Which only Qui-Gon Jinn, by the way, dies of.
Her stomach is burned and he's like, okay, yeah, she's not dead, but whatever, I'm going away. Doesn't die. She finds this little hologram. Owen. Oh, yeah, I need to go back to Tatooine. She does not know that Luke is actually his son. Follows Luke into the desert. She hunts him down. Owen, Beru, and Kenobi are screaming his name. And then she comes back. Yeah, I couldn't do it. What's this arc?
This is Kathleen Kennedy. Reva was supposed to die. It was then rewritten because the ending was too dark. Look, I would have also loved to have like a flashback of him, Ahsoka, and Anakin, and everyone getting back, because this is one of the few moments where we could have actually done this in live action. But I don't want to nitpick too much, because I also feel like the focus should be on Anakin and Vader, and only that.
Yeah, and that's what I said. It's just lack of consistency, and that's throughout the whole Star Wars stories. I like the universe, but it's just the stories that
do an exercise in simplicity.
Yeah.
Tell a very simple but good story in the best way possible. Again, I really like this. Seeing legends like Tara Sinube and Quinlan Voss from the Clone Wars, that was amazing. Even though Tara Sinube is sadly dead and in the crypt of the Inquisitors. I think that Hayden and James Earl Jones's voice shifting into each other and seeing Anakin's actual face, real life, in that mask, that's the glue that we needed. So even though in the last movie he was still Anakin, and he'd be put on his suit, but he was still not, for me, Vader. This really cemented him as Vader. And him creepily saying,
"You didn't kill Anakin Skywalker. I did."
And just that menacing look in his face through that mask. He doesn't even need the suit to be scary. he, as Anakin, burned up and everything, and just hateful and spiteful and making all those stupid decisions just to get to Kenobi. That is why I think this is such a great addition to the Star Wars lore. It's just sad that all the other things that were added made it lose its purity.
You know what was really scary? Seeing a flashback of Anakin, but him being like a 40-year-old.
yeah, and it's your mind wanders. How was he so old, so young? I've seen a YouTube video that de-aged Hayden Christensen. That was just one guy with not $1 million budget, so you can easily de-age them. They even did it for a Mandalorian. I think Deborah Chow did an incredible job in direction. I think this is the first series as well that had like one director, and it just looked beautiful and consistent.
Yeah.
And look, that was beautiful.
And look, it's consistent.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Why are these series more profitable? Because they cost less. So they go into the volume, they have these 3D renders thrown up, and you can see here that Deborah Chow isn't as used to using the volume as someone like a Dave Filoni is.
Aside from being critical of some points, I also enjoyed the show, but I think the story would have benefited from
an exercise in minimalism.
Yeah.
Now, this is the way we look at things, but what do you think? Do you agree with the points that were made, or do you think it's all blasphemy? Either way, reach out in the comments and join the discussion. And if you enjoyed the video, consider liking it and perhaps even subscribing, as this would greatly help us grow the channel. Thank you for listening, and see you in the next one.